old Chinese proverbs say, throw the big worm. That's a nice quality fish right there. Big 12-inch Mann's jelly worm. So hey guys, thank you so much for joining me and welcome to Keeping It Real Fishing. And yes, indeed, we're going to be talking big worms today. Specifically, we're going to be talking about the Mann's 12-inch jelly worm. And let's roll in one of those right here. Cleaned up the table just a little bit, but let's get him back out here, guys. So there we go, 12 inches in length. And let me just give you a synopsis, guys, what you can expect in this video. You know, it is a worm, so there's only so much to say. I guess the larger points that I'm going to be talking about a little bit are, if you don't have a big worm, and I mean a really big worm, not even the 10-inch worms, because those are kind of common. Step it up to a 12. There's even some 14-inch worms out there. It's not as big as you think. Like, you can't cheat the size. It is 12 inches. But in terms of bass hitting it, and the reason I say this, the reason I push this idea is because I'm a Northeast angler. I'm a New Jersey angler, the most densely populated state in the country, man. We got to fight. There's a lot of anglers out there, and it never ceases to amaze me how many fish strike my 12-inch worm. Usually it is better quality fish. It really does attract that large bite, being a massive worm, but even a lot of modest sized fish, a lot of fish in the 2-pound range, the high 2-pound range will go after this worm. So it's a great tool in the tool bag, and I just think a lot of people look at it and say, oh, that's something for those guys down south, down in Georgia, Alabama, Florida, or maybe some of the people out west where they grow bigger. That is not the case, right? I'm not saying you're going to light it up like you do with a 5-inch Senko, but this is definitely something you want to have in your arsenal. And I encourage you guys, buy a pack, try it out, and prove me wrong. Tell me that after you're fishing it for a while, you don't get a couple thuds on it, and how fun and exciting it is to get a thump on a big lure like this, because your mind always races thinking that you have that giant fish. So anyway, that's just kind of the basics, and I guess I'll just be rehashing those ideas a few times throughout the video. So alright guys, let's take a look. First thing I want to do is just give you a little bit of perspective on the lure. Rigging options are simple, of course, and I'm going to show you that. I want to show you some of the colors that I use and what their applications are. And then lastly, guys, I do have had a tremendous day the other day on it. I was lighting it up on the 12-inch worm. In this purple color seemingly was all they wanted, and so I took that opportunity of getting a lot of fish one day, and I said, you know what, let me just pour it all together here because I do love this lure so much, talk to you about it a little bit, and roll out a video highlighting the Mann's 12-inch jelly worm. So here we go. Okay guys, first things first, let's talk perspective. Now I know some of you are shaking your head, you're like, it's 12 inches, I know what 12 inches is, this isn't rocket science. I know it isn't, but perspective is everything, guys. So that same worm doesn't really show you how big it is when I lay it on the table, right? It's hard to get perspective against wood. There it is in my hand, and I do not have small hands. My fingers were probably another 1/4 inch longer. I'd probably be able to palm a basketball. I'm a decent sized dude, but I got really kind of actually long, skinny hands. So just to give you some perspective, big, okay? Because I'm not going to keep my hand in here the whole time. We're going to go back to the wood, and it's going to not look as impressive as it does here. So that's what 12 inches in effect looks like. And what we want to always do is visualize it, not here, not for the effect of, wow, that looks big, but imagine it in the water. Imagine how different it looks than the other baits you're throwing. Imagine the presence that it has. Imagine in those areas where the grass is a little bit thicker, how this is probably something that cannot be ignored, and a fish will be able to pick on easy, even in those dense areas where smaller lures might get lost. My next demonstration, guys, just real quick, is to put it up against some known lures. Those of you guys that throw the big baits, this is a big bait, right? It's the same philosophy. Throw a big lure for a big fish. Well, when you want to get away from the fish profile and the swim baits, there is nothing wrong. I mean, guys been doing it like this for decades, targeting big bass with big worms. So they're just next to an 8-inch Huddleston. Going the other direction, guys, common lures, just again, perspective. 10-inch Berkeley power worm. There it is next to the little ubiquitous 5-inch Senko. And here it is next to a Jean LaRue 5-inch, the larger size, biffle bug. So you have some perspective there, okay? It's a big lure. It's a big lure in the water. It's gonna command you some of those better fish for sure. So let's get these guys out of here. just for demonstration purposes. Okay guys, let's look at some of the colors, and I even have one of Mann's brand new colors. For those of you guys who fish clear water, you'll be interested in this one. Okay, so this is the, actually the one, let's start here guys. This is a translucent purple. I think Mann's calls it grape. And we could take a look at one of our packages here. This one is, yeah, 10 pack of grape. And let's highlight that also guys. These are not very expensive. I think a bag is maybe $5.99. But you're getting physically a lot of plastic in here. I mean, this bag is heavy because they're 10 inches or 12 inches long. This one is grape, and I think most of you know this, but the jelly worm is specific because all of these worms, at least originally, and many of them still carry this idea to today, grape actually smells like grape. And blackberry actually smells, well, blackberry is a stretch, but the thing is, all these worms, the kind of the original gimmick back in the day was that they smell really good. I kid you not, they smell, there's no garlic, none of these like crazy, you know, these anabolic or whatever, these fish smells and the stuff that's supposed to trigger bites that we have today. I use some of that stuff too, but these smell like bubblegum or candy. They really smell quite nice. And I guess the larger idea there, guys, and I'm kind of harken into this a few times in the video, is part of my keeping it real thing is examining claims and, you know, where is the truth in fishing. And so all those people saying out there that, oh, fish like, you know, this scent, that scent, and, you know, I couldn't even guess how many hundreds of thousands of bass, maybe millions of bass have been caught over the decades on this, which smells like fruit. And who else is making things that smell like fruit? So you kind of have to pick your side there. So this kind of commands the question, does scent matter at all? If fish bite things that smell like fruit, like garlic, like fish, it's seemingly you can make a lure smell like anything and you will get bit. I mean, case in point here is fruit flavored worms. A couple of the stats on the worm, guys. They say first super soft plastic, and that's in contrast to those original creme worms, which were plastic, but they weren't very soft. They're claimed to be the first scented soft plastic, and again, that was the gimmick with all the jelly flavors, which probably they needed at the time, because if stuff was smelling like garlic and other things, maybe people would be less inclined to get it, you know, probably thinking it stinks. First in all-time worm sales, and that's just due to sheer duration because they've been out so long. Taking it way back, man, 1973. I wasn't around yet. I'm sure some of you guys watching were. 73 Bassmaster Classic. Okay, this is their big thing now. They put Paul Elias on the front of each package because the largest bag ever caught in a tournament, the total bag, was caught on Paul Elias throwing the hell out of these Mann's worms. 132 pounds and 8 ounces all-time record weight. So, you know, they work, and that's a good thing for them to put on the front. It's a nice gimmick to make you believe. But we don't need gimmicks, guys, right? This is keeping it real, and all we need to know is that it's a big worm. It's very soft and limber. It undulates like any worm in the water, and of course it's going to work. The main thing that I want you to take away is just the sheer size, and then also, like I said, don't be afraid to throw these wherever you are. So let's take a quick look at those colors again. The black, you can never go wrong with black. If you could choose one color, I'd say probably choose black. Here's that new color that Mann's came out with. I think it's just this year. It's a watermelon with, they call it watermelon red magic. And this is a perfect color for you ultra clear water guys. When that light can get down lower and the light can actually hit some of those flakes and reflect around a little bit down there. And it's not quite as intimidating because it does have that see-through translucent watermelon color to it. So that's a great color. And that's pretty much in most cases, you know, all you need. Interestingly, you'd be like, well, where's the green pumpkin, right? I mean, that's like, most people think if you only pick one color. Curious omission in the Mann's lineup is there is no green pumpkin worm, even on the smaller sizes. They make it in smaller sizes too. We're just focusing on the 12. They make it in I think a 9, an 8, and a 7 or a 6. No green pumpkin, right? It's just kind of strange. Here's one, guys, not the jelly worm. They give you a little bit of a different tail. It's kind of a swimming tail. So if you want that giant 12-inch profile, but you want something with a little bit more action, not just that kind of swimming and fluttering of the just this paddle tail, but if you actually want some true swimming you know, curl-tail action. They do make a model. This is called the Waggler. Yep, the Super Jelly Waggler. It's got some holes in there, which is pretty cool. It kicks up some bubbles. And the one I have here is not green pumpkin, specifically it's called pumpkin. And so it's kind of like a brownish with some I guess it's pumpkin magic with those flakes in there. So anyway guys, that's just some of the colors if you're interested. And one other color, let me show you real quick here guys. I have it in one of my smaller sizes, and I'm going to show you a picture of this, or some video of this in the water. This is motor oil. Now we've all heard of motor oil, but hear me out, just give me 1 second of your time. I don't know what they dye this with. I don't know if it's some offshoot of the Manhattan Project or if it's some semi-nuclear toxic stuff. I'm not even joking guys, this stuff here is some crazy stuff. It's a translucent worm. You can see it's kind of reddish or whatever, but when you put this in the water, I kid you not, it glows. The second it hits the water, it's like someone turns on a switch. The light goes in, gets trapped. I don't know. Let me just show you. The video will speak to what I mean. But this is, amongst all the plastics I've ever fished, this one is very, very unique, such that it really kind of turns itself on once it hits the water. This one here is in the smaller size. This is an 8-inch size, but they do make this same color. It's a staple color for them. So with reference to the 12-inch worms, if you wanted to get this motor oil color, they do offer it in the larger sizes. But this is a freaky thing of nature that they were able to do to this plastic to make it look the way it does in the water. Very, very cool. If you've never seen it, guys, just pick up a pack for the sheer novelty of it. You're gonna be blown away by what happens when it hits the water. Okay, last thing everybody, just a couple points on rigging. You know, I keep it pretty simple. I'm not going to show you a million rigging methods, and it's redundant. It's just basic Texas rig, because that's all I do. But what I want to speak to you about is just some of the hooks. Because this is such a big worm, you might want to use a bigger hook. And so I just want to share with you a hook that's really, really good for the purpose of it. Owner came out with these, I think a year or two ago, and as you can see, it's called the oversized hook. And it's the 11-aught. So it's a really, really big hook. Again, let me put it in hand to kind of drive home the idea of how long that is. It's a really long hook. And you can see quite a long bend here. You can really get this down into the worm quite a bit. And what's nice about it is that it puts that hook point just about 1/3 of the way down the worm. Okay, so if you were to have a short striker, and I'm gonna kind of play devil's advocate here, because I'm going to talk to you in just a second about short hooks and why I think they're just as good. But if you don't have a lot of hooks and you're looking to pick up these worms, if you want some purpose-built hooks, I think these 11-aughts are great, because it does put that hook point a little bit further down for that occasional bite that maybe gets about this far, and you know, you just stand a little bit of a better chance of getting them because the hook's further down. Now, having said that, guys, I'm going to follow it up with the exact opposite. There's no downside to these, but before these came out, just keep that guy there. Before these came out, I was fishing it on 7-aughts. And before even that, before I got my 7-aughts, I picked up a pack of these originally, and I just fished them on what I had, which was, I don't remember if it was these specifically, but it was 5-aughts. Because everybody and anybody has 5-aught worm hooks. These happen to be screw-in hooks. You could use those, you could use your standard, you know, ones here with the bend in them. But this is what I want to show you guys, is look at how it looks too short, right? It doesn't look size appropriate for the worm. And the funny thing is, guys, and I think most of us know this, but as big as this worm is, bass don't play. They know to go to the head. They see the end that's kind of leading the train, moving along down there. Bass bite to kill. They want to swallow that thing. They don't want it to be moving around and, you know, fighting them as they're trying to swallow it. They go for the head. And even some of the fish that have kind of hit to the backside, because I felt like one thump and then a second thump. And if you ever see underwater footage, you'll often see that with bass. Sometimes they go voomp, and then they create that vacuum effect again, and the worm just kind of sucks in. They will always get to the hook. They just simply do not eat it to here and then start swimming around with the head of this thing just hanging out of their front lips. It doesn't happen. When they want to eat it, and particularly the big worm, there's nothing half-hearted about it. They know they got to go harden the paint if they're going to swallow something like this. So, so that's pretty much it with the rigging, guys. It's just basically, if all you have is a small hooks, use them with confidence. I know it looks a little bit funny, but just count off like 1 second, maybe 2. Just make sure you don't have that kind of double thud where they take half it and then the rest. Or if you want to, buy these hooks. I do rock it on the 11/0, and my hookup ratio is just about 100%. I never miss them on this. So there's that. And the only other thing I want to talk to you guys about is just my particular way of fishing it and the weight that I like to use. I like this one right here. Pretty exciting and dramatic, right? It's a bullet weight. Specifically, guys, 3/16. That's the point I want to make here. 3/16 ounce. And I use this regardless of depth. That's why I like it. With these worms, and all my worms, I don't want a real fast sink. Even if I'm fishing 15, 20 feet of water, I just don't want it to bullet down there. Not so much that I want to wait for it to get down there, but once it's down there, I don't want a really heavy weight at the head, such that when I bring up my rod tip, the head goes boom, back to the ground. So basically, I don't want it to be like boom, boom, boom. I want it to flow down there. I want it to always look natural and smooth. And so my goal is always to use the lightest weight possible that I can get away with. And I found that to be 3/16. This is actually an older one. This is a lead one. Of course, you could use tungsten as well. But 3/16, and I use this, I love it in sparse to medium grass. You could absolutely use this in heavy cover as well, but I find that kind of my go-to area is grass that's not super, super heavy. And this weight here is good because the other byproduct of that is I also don't want my worm getting lost in the grass. So if I have grass that's 2, 3, 4 feet tall, and I put a 3/8 ounce weight on this, it's just going to nosedive down and bury all the way down to the bottom of that grass. And you got to figure, in thick grass, fish don't see it now. Unless you just happen to plunk it right on their head in thick grass, visually, now it's done. It's down there at the bottom, it's sunk, it's hidden. You want to use that light weight because you want it to get it down there. You want it to be able to nestle into that grass a little bit, but you don't want it getting sunken in and lost. And I found 3/16 is just the perfect weight. It gets you down a little bit, but allows you to come out easily. You're not always fighting the grass because it drops in so far. So that's kind of my last thing there, guys. Of course, experiment, see what works best for you. But having used a lot of different weights, the 3/16 seems like the magic one for me. And I'm often fishing this in deep water. I usually fish in 15, 20, 25 feet of water, keeping it on the bottom and just nice and slow. And that's, the last thing I'll say, guys, is retrieve. You can see we don't have any appendages or that corkscrew tail of the, of this one here. So the idea with this worm, like any worm, but particularly the giant one, work it slow. Almost like the Huddleston we rolled in before. Work it slow. You almost can't work it too slow. I don't care about time of year or water clarity or anything else. You're curtailing to a big bite with this. That's kind of the point of throwing it, is to get that really, really big fish. And slower is better. I mean, really raise your rod tips slowly, drop it slow, shake it just really, really slowly along the bottom. And yeah, and that light weight here allows you to have natural fluid action as you're doing that. So that's pretty much it, guys. Mann's 12-inch jelly worm. It's like I said, there's not a lot to it, but there's always something to say, when we get into the details of the lures. So that's it, guys. If you're still interested, I'm going to roll to the water right now and show you within a few days some of the great catches I was having on the big 12-inch worm. Again, let me remind you, East Coast, New Jersey, fish hitting this giant bait. Thanks for watching, guys. There we go. Fish on. Moving over to the extra large Mann's 12-inch jelly worm in purple. Going with that clear color here in this clear water. Got on a 3/16 ounce bullet weight, standard Texas rig. Got it pegged. Oh. It's right there when I picked it up. Whoa, It's right there. This feels like a real good fish. Another quality fish. Woo! Man, it's right there when I picked it up. I was gonna say the only thing I got different on here is I'm using a big 11/0 hook. Let's get this guy. He ain't going anywhere. I got him right in the top. There we go. That's a pretty good day so far, guys. I'm just messing around trying different baits. Went from that Optimum. What was I using before? That Victory Tail. And I was swimming it through, and the next thing I said, well, let me just try a worm. Working the grass. First cast on the worm. As I picked it up, that's a nice quality fish right there. Big 12-inch Mann's jelly worm. And that clear color. I thought that'd be a good color with this clear water. Fish on. Another solid fish. Whew, this one's got some fight in her. I think this is the best one so far today. Yeah, definitely. I need the net with her. She's hooked right through the bottom of the lip. All right, nice fish. Nice fish that isn't out of gas yet. Guys, I've just been playing the same angle over and over casting. Or really just like 3 angles, just beating it up on these fish. And that was my first cast. All I did was just change a new angle on this grass bed. So it's safe to say that they're really stacked in here. And the Mann's worm is just killing it. This is a nice fish. This might be a high 4, maybe even a 5. Let me get that out of there. That's in the wrong spot for me. There we go, guys. That's a solid fish right there. Whew. Get it from the hat cam angle. Another one, Mann's worm. See if I can spin this boat, just get a little bit of a better thinking high 4s, maybe 410, 412. Let's see what we got. 4.8. 4.8. Nice fish. Nice fish. Damn, this backlight. We're gonna have to do it from the hat cam. 4.8. Nice healthy fish. So, no coincidence here. Just keeping with that purple worm in this grass bed, and I think we're gonna get a bigger one. I've only been here about an hour. Here you go, big girl. So the idea with this worm, like any worm, but particularly the giant one, work it slow. Almost like the Huddleston we rolled in before. Work it slow. You almost can't work it too slow. I don't care. Testing, testing. Give me a little bit more volume on this thing. Fish on. I was just gonna say, it's been a while since I got a fish. Oh. No giants, but they're all the same size. And I guess this is just kind of, you know what it is, guys? It's a pick. But still, the point I was about to make was, don't be afraid to throw those 12-inch worms. I mean, here I am, just one lake, one spot, nothing fancy. You know, northeast New Jersey. And I think this is like the 8th fish in a little over, maybe like an hour, hour and a half on a 12-inch worm, you know. Not to say that they're dialed into the big stuff every day, but I mean, these worms are long in length, but they just don't have that giant profile. It's not like you're throwing like a big Huddleston or something. Let this guy tire out a little bit. Those pickerels, you know how they are. They get nasty when you bring them by the side of the boat and they have all that energy. You stand to get hurt when they thrash, and I don't want them to hurt themselves anymore. There he goes. Get that one or two last pushes before they're kind of tired out. I think this guy's probably ready. Get the trusty plastic gripper thing. All right, my friend. Alright guys, so wrong species, healthy pickerel though. Oh, let's get that hook out. Come on buddy, there we go. There we go guys. Sorry for all this backlit shots, it's just the way the sun's going today. It's probably about almost a 24-inch pick. I don't know, maybe 3.5 pounds, something like that. Beautiful fish. Beautiful fish.
What was that? No.
Find out.
Say it, I'm standing up. Wow, there's a lot of room here.
But now you can use that seat as a brace for the back of your legs if you want.
Yeah.
That's what I always do.
625 pounds, that means I can put on some weight.
Another one on the big man's worm, guys. Nice quality fish. chunker. Whew. Here we go. Pattern holds up. We've been here about 15 minutes. Maybe the 7th or 8th cast. That's a nice fat fish. Look at that. Just need to find the ones that have a little bit more length but that same body. That's it's probably a high 3, maybe a 4 flat. See from the hack cam angle. Just missed his eye, thank God. There we go. Let's see if we can hold it up there. You get the idea. So probably a 18-inch fish or so. 12-inch worm. Let's see what we're looking at weight-wise. Okay, we're zeroed. And should we stay still? $3.12. That's a nice solid fish. $3.12. Just working those grass lines, nice and subtle, nice and simple. Big worms, keeping it classic. That one, this one looks like she's ready to get on that full feed, engorged. Ready engorged with the get some bait fish. There we go. Let it go back down to him. I realized I was swimming my worm and I wasn't on the bottom. This guy must have been tracking it. I gave it some slack. I just let it go right back down to the bottom. And there she was. Motorboat. There we go. Purple worm does it again. There we go. I'm beginning to see that this lake, and I'm skeptical of this, but I've tried my various colors. I've given them a good shake, and I'll get a bite here or there, but that purple just keeps on coming through. Another nice fish. A little mangled up there. Alright, let's see if the black worm can produce. I've been following convention and erring on the side of that translucent purple because this is very clear. It might not look so clear here, but if you see my rope, I could probably see. My rope doesn't fade from view. I'm guessing that's probably at least 10 feet down. We have really good visibility here. So, you know, black is a color that just works. It's an all-around good color. But when you have that clear water, there seems to be a tendency, you know, there's a reason that, you know, people come up with these norms, is that, you know, over the generations, over the decades, people have found that those clear colors sometimes outperform the opaque colors. Even at those deep depths, you know, that worm's down in 20, 25 feet of water, you don't have a whole hell of a lot of light transmission once you get down there. As clear as this water is, there's just, you know, not a lot of light makes it, but enough for them. Between what they can see and what they can feel through the lateral line. Obviously, bass have no problems living down in 20, 30, 40 feet, 20, 30 feet of water. 40 gets a little bit more rare. And they can fill their bellies quite readily. It's not a problem. Fish on. Another solid fish. They went for the black. Good. It's one of my better fish. Past couple days, stay on. Oh, I could lose this guy. Let me get him in here. All right. So there we go, guys. They ate the black. Been having a hard time getting them to eat that black color. Keep erring on the side of that purple in this clear water. There's a solid one on the 12-inch black. Very nice. One of the things I like to do here, guys, is whenever I catch a decent fish, once I'm getting into the 4 and 5 pound class, because I'm curious, I'm always doing like a personal study into the habits of larger fish as I continue to try to pursue just them. And I like to always see, if I can, if they've been hooked before. As the fish get larger, I'm always curious to that question, are these fish quote-unquote smart at avoiding getting hooked? Do they make a living avoiding most anglers and where anglers go and what they throw? I've noticed that on my biggest fish, on my Huddleston fish, my 6+ pound fish, unless there's no scarring whatsoever, I didn't notice anything. They had pristine mouths, inside and out, no tears, nothing. I guess if, you know, had they been hooked very early in life, maybe something could have healed and there would be no you know, no residual, but there was nothing to show me that at least in any recent period of time that they had been hooked. So we're going to take a look at this guy here. And hopefully that camera's getting in there. There's where I just went. You see a little blood there. Sides of the mouth, no scarring, nothing on the bottom, nothing anywhere. So like I said, unless this fish maybe was hooked a long time ago and healed, I see nothing. I'm you could see the blood right there from where I just hit him. I'm semi-confident that this fish here was, this is the first time this fish has ever felt a fisherman, the sting of a hook. And that's a good sized fish. So that fish is making good decisions, probably living down deep most of its life, avoiding all the bank fishermen. This fish came in about 20 feet of water. And we're gonna let her go back down. Poor girl, she thought she had a nice easy meal. Still the spinnerbait?
It's a spinner bait, but no skirt. It's just a kitech on the end.
Okay.
Got a little flash going. Look at the rainbow.
Oh, nice.
2 of them.
Double rainbow, no! Oh my god.
Oh, you switched.
Yeah, well, I worked it with the aggressive bait, and then I wanted to get in there a little deeper with this more subtle. Alright guys, so there's the smallest one I've caught so far on the 12-inch worm. If we lay them side by side, you can see the fish is probably 14 inches. But look at that, I mean, they know to go for the head. I don't know if he had the whole thing down momentarily, or they get to the head. The big 11-aught hook, right in the top, very solid. Nice, comes out easy. Yes, look at these fish, every single fish here has got a nice, I mean, not super fat, but just very healthy. Hoping to really cross paths with a monster, but so point is, guys, the 12-inch worm, it sounds big, but in terms of profile, it's just long and skinny. That's what she said. I say it a lot, and I'll just keep saying it though. I'm a northeast angler. This is New Jersey. You know, this isn't California or Florida or Texas or anything. And you know, you just stand a chance all day at that better fish. And if you're gonna get some of these little guys anyway, you know, why not? Why not throw the big one? So, all right, brave fish you are.